Hi everyone, this is Hélène, or Galanite, and if you follow me on Instagram, or if you watch YouTube shorts, you'll know what this video is about. But otherwise, this video I want to tell you about a live electronic music performance I did in March, about a month ago. And the reason I want to tell it to you is because it meant a lot to me. First of all, it was my first live electronic music performance. And it's not any electronic music, it's modular synthesizer, analog synthesizers being played live. So it's quite a challenge for a lot of people, and especially if it is your first electronic music performance. It wasn't my first music performance back in my heydays. I used to be in bands and other gigs, but electronic music is a new thing for me to do live. The other reason I wanted to share about the performance is because it was played after a screening of the excellent documentary Sisters with Transistors by Lisa Rovner. Now that documentary, if you haven't seen it and you like synthesizers, I highly recommend it. It is a documentary about women pioneering the electronic music scene. Well, there wasn't any scene back then. There was actually not even synthesizers. So in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, people were experimenting with equipment such as oscillators. Something like this, for instance. An oscillator that was meant for studio equipment. It's a test equipment. That was also used by Disney back when they made Fantasia. But basically, the documentary is kind of given a voice to part of history that was rather quiet. Not a lot of people know about these women composers and experimenters. These women weren't celebrated as much as they should have been because they were smart, inventive, bold. They experimented in a very intuitive manner, and they have inspired me a lot. And to imagine myself playing a live performance after the screening of the documentary, it felt like such an honor, such a privilege for me to be able to showcase and highlight how they have inspired me and how much easier I have it now, and how important it is to experiment and not to be afraid, even if it sounds weird. Experiment and listen differently to those electric sounds, and sometimes even what is considered by other people just stuff to be discarded. Either the sounds, their noise, their glitches, there's things that you should be getting rid of from a recording, or even the equipment itself, which could have been put aside just because they weren't working in the more scientific world anymore. But they still produced sound, I imagine. So it was a very exciting time. And that documentary does a great job at explaining the cultural context of most of them, but also who they were. So once again, I highly recommend it. Now, when the artist I had been talking with mentioned the possibility to be playing that live performance after the screening, I said yes right away, because that felt like so naturally perfect for me. An opportunity I couldn't pass on. But once I said yes, afterwards, when it settled in, I panicked. Yeah, I panicked because it was my first live electronic performance. And so there was a lot of mental preparation for me to do. For instance, as soon as I realized something very popular, something very well known, I should say, kicked in, which is imposter syndrome. I thought to myself, who am I to be chosen to perform after that screening? And also, they probably don't know who they invited to that performance, because I'm not young and cool. I'm not going to draw in a big audience. I'm not known as a live act at all. And I found all these reasons that prevented me from feeling adequate. But of course, all of them weren't true, because the artist I had talked with knows me. We met before. We don't know each other much, but we met. So he knows I'm a human, first of all, and that I'm a woman. So, well, on that sense, I fit the bill. So I had to shut that voice up. But the next one, the other form that arose from my feelings, is gas attack, gear acquisition syndrome. A lot of you know about it, certainly I imagine. If you see this video on YouTube, YouTube is a big part of that. Envy we develop by watching what other people use, the gear, the lust, and I'm not immune to it. But my setup right now, I have decided to make it a hybrid setup. So I do have a modular synthesizer and a semi-modular synthesizer, but I'm sequencing both from the computer. The studio computer is a tower. It's not portable, and I wasn't going to bring that over there for sure. That was out of question. And I imagined that I needed gear. I needed a sequencer. I needed a box, a module, or a standalone sequencer, MIDI sequencer. And I started shopping, and I started researching. And you know, the spiral, I got sucked in, nearly sucked in. But then one day I woke up and I thought, hold on, wait, hold on a minute, Hélène. You can't buy a module or a box to sequence that costs more than what the gig is giving you. That doesn't make business sense. Now, okay, honestly, I wasn't doing the gig just for the money, although there was a little money, just enough for me to put other things on hold and concentrate on the preparation and composing the piece. But it doesn't make any business sense to buy the gear to be portable for someone that doesn't do shows or has never really done shows, and I'm not going to go on tour with that. That's not the goal. So this is not all about business. For sure it isn't. That passion part is a lot more important, but should it fuel my purchases? No. That's the wrong way to go about it. So right then I decided, okay, I'm resolved. I will challenge myself not to buy anything. I will challenge myself to learn what I already have. Things like such as modules, which I am underusing because I'm always hooking it up with the computer. And boy, was that a great decision. The challenge itself was really exciting. It made me think and reframe my mind to make it like a sort of game. The game is don't buy. Learn and push the use of what you already have. And it was exciting. So what I do have that is not my computer tower that I can use to sequence is an iPad. It's an old iPad. It's I have a few music apps that I sometimes pull out for fun and to play some make some interesting sounds on the go, on the sofa, or if I'm, I don't know, in camping. But given that I think it's a fifth generation iPad, I was a little scared. I wasn't entirely certain that I could depend on the iPad. Still, I had bought a new app that sequences. It's called Patterning 3, and it's a circular pattern builder. It's meant to play samples, but you can sequence MIDI with it. And I didn't learn how to use it. I hadn't still learned how to use it fully yet. So that also fit the bill of my challenge to learn what I already have. And I went on and learned more about how to sequence MIDI with patterning. And it was quite a lot of fun, sometimes frustrating. I had to read the manual. I read the manual of my ALM Pam's New Workout module because it can be used to sequence, even though it doesn't have selector buttons, but the clock divisors can be used as a sequencer. And I hadn't explored that possibility yet. I also read the manual for my Pittsburgh Taiga, and I'm quite familiar with the Pulsar 23. I didn't need to read more, but just to go back to some of the basics, such as for grounding with other instruments. More on that on a subsequent video in which I will explain the patch on the Pulsar 23. So going back to what I decided to use, the iPad with I don't have a mixer, so but I do have a MIDI controller with faders. So that in conjunction with my audio interface was going to be my setup. So the Pulsar 23 as obviously the drums part. Modular synthesizer is basically a Mentis, tip-top audio Mentis rack that is full of modules. The Lyra 8 was part of the performance, but more on that later. And my fader controller, audio interface, and obviously a lot of cables. So in conclusion, it was such a treat to get to perform at that event. Very small event, but the ambiance was cool and nice, and I got to talk about the performance beforehand and afterwards. I encouraged people to come and ask questions, and it worked. People came to me and asked questions or looked at the the gear I was using, and that was so much fun because it's part of the sharing experience, the shared passion. And if I were in the audience, I'd like to ask questions. So I welcomed them, and I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I have to mention that most of them were interested in modular synthesizers, so they did have questions, and pertinent ones, pretty good questions. To conclude, I have to think. I am so humbled, and I feel so privileged to have the gear that I have, to have the experience and the knowledge that I have. And a lot of it is due to the fact that other people have experimented and pushed the boundaries. And I admit that sharing on YouTube is such a great place to learn and to see how people work. So that's the reason I share on YouTube, so that if somebody somewhere out there learns something from what I do, that to me is the reward in itself. But I still do have to thank a few people, well, not that much, but I want to thank, first of all, Basile Crépin-Leblond, who's also known as Vinciane, a modular synthesizer artist that lives in my city, in Quebec City. He is the one who invited me, so thank you, Basile. Really enjoyed that. He also hosted a workshop on modular synthesizer, so the performance was part of the workshop. And that took place at the venue, which is called La Charpente des Fauves. Thank you very much to La Charpente des Fauves. It is an artistic, multidisciplinary center in my city as well, which is also quite a treat and a privilege to have in my city and to have access to it. So thank you so much. to end this all, I guess I would have to thank you. If you have enjoyed the video, if you have learned something, if you want to know more, I am so grateful, so thankful for the infrastructures that we can use and the international aspect of this. Very thankful for that. And I will not say the cliche sentences at the end of the video that everyone says. If you like the video, you know how to support. And do ask questions if you have them. We'll post further videos about the patching on the pulsar, the patching on the modular, and maybe the performance as well. I'm not sure yet. Depends on if time allows. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Thanks to you, my 2 subscribers who find me. I know. Oh, yeah, there might be a third person here. Hello. You may not be subscribed, but you're welcome. Hope you enjoyed this. Take care. Bye.